Hello and welcome to my review of Jake Hunter detective story, Ghost of the Dusk, currently only on the Nintendo 3DS. So we start off the story with Jake at the bar who's about to celebrate a case closed until this really spooked man shows up. Jake and the bartenders ask him what got his knickers in a twist, and he tells them that he saw a dead body in a supposed haunted house. So what does Jake do? Get himself involved. Now if you want my attention, it usually has to involve mystery and horror, so if you're a fan of either of those, I think you'll take a liking to this game. It's a mature and dark noir detective stories. The series tone might not be for everyone, and I can understand why Ace Attorney has a wider audience due to its zany, over-the-top characters, but the Jake Hunter world has a more realistic feel that I really appreciate. I think especially due to me getting older and looking for other venues different from the fantasy setting. There were plenty of twists and huge revelations that kept me surprised throughout. None of the twists felt forced, which I feel a bunch of other visual novels try to do, and the characters are very realistic. It's like you could stumble upon any of these characters in real life, and it enhanced the immersion factor. The main episode took me about 12 hours, but that's with a lot of pauses. I have a bad habit of getting sidetracked, so you will probably finish it faster. So this is a visual novel where you're just reading a bunch of text, and it has penalty-free gameplay where you're given multiple choice questions throughout the game. And if you get it wrong, Jake will either correct you, give you a chance to answer again until you get it right, or simply just move on. There's an asterisk for this because one of the extra episodes that you do does penalize you, but I'll touch more on that later. Compared to Phoenix Wright, where you might have a lot of possible choices and a limited amount of chances before reaching a game over and having to go through a lengthy discourse then loading your save file, you don't have to do that here in Jake Hunter. This saved me so much time and let me focus and enjoy the story. I do have one negative about the gameplay, and it has to do with the investigation mode. Sprinkled throughout the story, you have to move the cursor or tap around the environment on points of interest, and whenever I came across these, I just rolled my eyes and went, here we go again. Thankfully, if you just use the D-pad or circle pad to move around, you can see that the cursor change colors, and if there's something there, it'll turn blue. And during some of these investigations, maybe one or two, there were moments where even though you interacted with an item, you'd think you'd be done with it, but no. You have to investigate something else, then tap that other item again to trigger a new set of dialogue. So there were some moments of trial and error and frustration. If they would just provide a checkmark or some kind of indicator to tell me that I don't need to check this item again, it wouldn't be so bad. If anything, they could have presented me with the usual menu items that you usually go through, and I would have been fine with that. But this may be fine for some, because I know some visual novels do this, like Emio the Smiling Man on the Nintendo Switch. On that note, I love it when the text-heavy games lets you use the touchscreen to proceed through dialogue, because you have to be pressing the A button a whole bunch of times. I know some Switch games do that. I did find it odd that the only space to move on to the next line was at the very bottom of the touchscreen. You couldn't just touch any of the empty space on there. Sometimes you're presented with some decisions that don't have drastic consequences. You'll always reach the same ending for each of these episodes, and the reason for these choices gives you more agency as to how you want to react to other characters. Some of the options are unconventional, so feel free to choose whatever you want and see how the characters, including Jake himself, react to you. Now, speaking of characters, Jake is a calm, intuitive, and bold guy, and it's nice to hear his thought process behind his actions, and it makes me appreciate the character even more. Jake's not afraid to push people's buttons when he needs to, and it made for some interesting situations. He also uses a lot of American idioms, a lot of which I didn't know, so it's a plus, and I got a neat little literature boost from Jake. Now I'm not sure what happened to Jake's portrait because he looks really mysterious and handsome on the 3DS cover art, but in-game, he's got this deadpan zombie stare that's really unfortunate. We also have Yulia, who's Jake's assistant or secretary, and she's just as clever as Jake, and they make a great duo. She also has her moments too, which was a nice change of pace. For some reason though, there was a stark difference between Yulia's design in each episode and I couldn't help but keep thinking she's a different character. Now, onto the graphics. In this game, you're just staring at a bunch of still images for the character models. There's no blinking, no mouths moving, or other animations you might find in other visual novels, but what makes up for it is a great noir detective mystery. I didn't mind that aspect. But there are some cutscenes or photos that break free from the usual backdrop and character portraits, but these are far and few. The music is spot on. It has a bunch of jazz and ambience soundtracks that set the mood perfectly. I'm thinking about saving some of the smooth jazz tracks to my phone. The music playing in the background of this review is what you'll hear in the game. They are super good. Now on to options. You will notice upon starting a game that there are multiple stories to choose from. You can start any of these right away, and these are standalone stories, so you are free to go with your heart's content. The one downer is that you're only given 3 save files, so make sure you finish some before going off on another mystery, unless you don't like an episode, of course. Each story seems to have different character models and music, which made it seem like you're playing a different game each time. These other episodes are around 3 to 4 hours each. The comic episode wasn't worth it in my opinion. It has Jake and Yulia and some other characters in like an anime chibi style art, and I don't think it was worth it in my opinion. It's meant to be silly, but I didn't find it appealing. That's probably just not my kind of humor. This one was really detail heavy and also penalized you if you answered incorrectly. This is what I was talking about earlier. Throughout the short story, you'll be asked a series of questions, and if you answer incorrectly, you have to start from the beginning of the series of questions again. It's not difficult, but it made me appreciate the lax and carefree nature of the questions from the other episodes. You have to really pay attention to the details such as the times, colors, other things, and I just wanted it to end. It doesn't help that one track plays throughout the majority of the game. Thankfully, this episode is only around 40 minutes. There's an option to turn off the typewriter effect when you're reading text, so instead the whole sentence or line will just show up right away. And it makes for a snappy reading experience, which I didn't realize how much I'd appreciate. In conclusion, I wouldn't say Jake Hunter Detective Story Ghost of the Dusk is in my top 10 3DS games, but I did enjoy my time with it. With down-to-earth characters, well-written stories, I would recommend this to people who are looking for a crime mystery story to delve into. This was my first game in the Jake Hunter series, and now I'm eager to play the DS game, just not right now considering the market price. I'm hoping that they will keep trying to get this series on the map in the West because I see no fanfare about Jake Hunter, but yep, I really enjoyed my time with it. Thank you so much for listening to my review. Take care.